Next up, we have round 9 of Duels of Runeterra 15 NA, and we have Fly versus the one and only Lobster. Fresh Lobster gonna go at it here. We're gonna see who's gonna be able to take it away and most likely make the top cut as the winner. The loser, I do not believe, will make top cut here as they will move to X and 3. So we'll see who makes it in round 9. Fly versus Fresh Lobster. Looks like they are in the challenge screen now. By the way, Fresh Lobster as well as Fly. So T minus less than 60 seconds probably. I hope I don't have to eat my words here in a second. Looks like they are queued up. So I'm going to go ahead and get on over to the gameplay. Fly versus Fresh Lobster. Game 1, Duels of Runeterra 15, round 9, day 2 of Swiss. Wow, that's a mouthful. When you actually explain all of what that is, that's a lot of words. Just throw that out there.
So Lobster didn't ban the Frostbite midrange.
Really? Okay.
So I would have to assume that it's the Twisted Fate Ezreal then that was banned on the side of Fly. I don't think you ever ban this Thresh Lux deck. I think you either take out Ezreal or you take out the Ashe Sejuani.
Yeah, that seems odd. I guess not valuing the ban on this Ashe Sejuani deck. Although, wasn't it something we were talking about yesterday where we were like, I feel like a lot of people don't need to ban the mid-range Frostbite, and they were still banning it anyways?
I definitely like not banning it when you have Karma Ezreal in your lineup. Yep. I know I've talked a lot about how this is a good matchup for the Karma Ezreal. And, like, I haven't eaten my words on this yet, because, like, it's going to look dicey for Lobster. He's going to fall down to, like, 2 HP, and then Fly is just never going to touch him again.
Yeah.
And we've seen that happen way, way, way more often than not.
And again, actually, something to note here with this particular matchup, and even the last matchup, already 2 rounds into Duels of Runeterra NA here, no they who endure. Like, we haven't seen it from any of the players that we've watched thus far, which is refreshing.
Oh, yeah, the 4 players that we've watched.
Hey, I'm just saying, right now, as of right now, we have 4 players that have not brought they who endure. So that gives me hope that we're going to see a little less they who endure today.
I cannot actually imagine Lobster playing Endure.
Why not?
He just doesn't seem like that kind of guy.
You have to, your personality has to match the deck.
Basically, like, Hyped I could almost see play Endure, but Lobster, never. Never in my life could I see this man playing Endure.
God, with that kind of mustache, what kind of decks do you play? I don't know, man.
He has to play, like, a more control-y style. I think the deep suits him a lot better.
He has to play something where he can, like, twirl the mustache and think in deep thought, right? Like,
yeah.
He needs to be able to do that.
Goes for the Static Shock, and Fly doesn't play any copies of Elixir of Iron.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, we have 2 Brittle Steel, 3 Calling Strike, a Flash Freeze, 3 Harsh Winds, and a Reckoning. Actually opting for 1 main deck Flash Freeze as well. So what's the replacement? I mean, he's got the Babbling Bjergs in there.
I think it's overloading on the Bjergs and then putting in that Flash Freeze as well as the 3rd copy of Sejuani. So Fly just wants as much Frostbite available to him in order to handle the Endure decks a little bit better. But bad news, you ran into Lobster, who is not running that.
Yeah, and also really heavy on the 2 drops. I mean, he's got 3 Glory Seeker, 3 Ice Veil, and 2 Sentry. Usually Sentry, or not usually, but sometimes Sentry's dropped for just Ice Veil and Glory Seeker, or, you know, one or the other, and maybe you take out 1 Glory Seeker, play a couple Average and Sentry. So, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting way to play the deck, not running the Elixir of Iron. The 3 Culling Strike, though, I think is really the important card, right? Yeah. Did you say that was the... I keep forgetting what you said. Was it last week you said that was the most played card in that tournament that week?
Yeah, in that PCS, I think it was either the Last Chance Qualifier or PCS number 7, Culling Strike was the most played card in the tournament.
Yep, I think that says something. I think I saw a meme already, too, of all the newly released cards where it's like, hey, all these cards got released, they're super good, but hey, Culling Strike. And they're all like 3 attack or less, like Tarek. Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about the adaptations that can come out of the play style of the Frostbite midrange in this matchup, right? I think the last time we saw this, it was like Captain Farron came down. Is Captain Farron the difference maker? The answer was no. Is Double Yeti the difference maker?
Double Yeti. So you're saying if Fly is able to get down 2 Enraged Yetis here against Fresh Lobster early on?
I mean, yeah, he trappered on 3 and he trappered on 4. That's as... I mean, unless you trapper on 5 as well, that's as many Yetis as you can physically get down.
I mean, we see 2 concussive palms on the side of Fresh Lobster, so it's still going to be difficult to get those attacks to connect. We already see... I mean, even this turn, it's already stunned plus having them in hand, or the 2 concussive palms in hand, which are also going to add some more units to the field too. Plus he's got this this chump wump as a potential chump blocker on future turns. I don't know. I actually think that, and I'm going to say this as I've always said before, having both Yetis seems good early, especially in this deck. It's probably still pretty good. But having that Yeti come down instead of a different card that could potentially be more impactful might actually hurt Fly here.
When you're, I mean, these Avarosan Sentries need to get value. When you're at this point, the 1 mana 5/5 is worse than something like an Avarosan Hearthguard. You have the mana to play with. You might as well use it for the extra effect that something like that gets you. So you really need these Sentries to die as quickly as possible, accelerate you into that late game. And I mean, Lobster opening 3 concussive palm could have been the difference maker.
Okay, well that helps Fly get back into it a little bit. I was gonna say, I feel like I blinked and all of a sudden Fly lost all of his cards.
It's because they're like front loaded into these Sentries. He'll get them back later.
So we'll see what happens with that. But that Assessor definitely helps. Only getting 2 cards though, and Freshlobster crucially able to get through another Nexus Strike with the Ezreal to get a fleeting Mystic Shot in hand. Not really any amazing targets. You know, might just kind of maybe just get rid of one of the Sentries just for the hell of it.
I mean, you could soften up the Assessor. You do have another Mystic Shot in hand. Or you could soften up the Yeti to block it with the Chump Wump next turn.
Yeah, the Yeti with the Chump Wump seems a little bit better, I think, just because, you know, the numbers line up a little bit better. He does have this Thermo Beam just kind of chilling in hand as well. Looks like he's going to opt to go with the Assessor, though. So what is this? Is he just setting this up to be removed with the second Mystic Shot in hand?
Probably. I think he... I mean, so if you play Chump Wump now and you Shroom, you get the Dragonling next turn. And then you could block the Assessor with the Dragonling, you can block the Yeti with the Chump Wump, and throw out a Mystic Shot onto it.
Yeah, he does also have this Thermo Beam just kind of, you know, chilling at 5 right now. Could just straight up remove that Yeti. Seems like a decent play. Also going to get the Dragonling there, which is very, very big right now. Going to provide that chump blocker to still get the other Yeti down to 4, right? So I actually do like that Mystic Shot on the Assessor there, kind of thinking out a couple turns ahead.
So I don't love the... I didn't love that Thermo Beam onto the Yeti, but you do have to play proactively around things like the Trifarian Assessor. If Lobster doesn't remove that Yeti and Fly gets another 3-draw Assessor or a 4-draw Assessor, if it was buffed up by that Omen Hawk again, that could have been absolutely disastrously game-breaking. So, like, I don't love that you feel like you have to make a play like that, but I do think it was correct to go for something like that and keep this Trifarian Assessor down.
So this is interesting on the part of Fly, right? I mean, he's only opting to go with the 2 Aversion Sentry attacks, which is, like, kind of passive considering what the goal for him is right now. I guess it does entice Freshlobster to take the damage because he doesn't have to block as much stuff. Maybe take 2 of the damage and just kind of be even at 13. But this seems bad.
The problem is, I mean, if you all-out attack on the side of Fly, then your Assessor is definitely getting blocked by this Dragonling. And then if your opponent has a stun effect, then you're still only dealing the 2 damage that you would have. You get a stun effect out of your opponent, and that is something that has a little bit of merit. So I think Fly should be expending the resources of Lobster a little bit more, but it is a pretty big swing in you. You know, maybe he just goes, "Oh, I have a weak hand. I need you to block one of these Sentries. I can't let you block this this Trifarian Assessor. I need my draw right now."
And, you know, this was the other thing I was going to say, too. Like, do you block with the Ezreal? I don't think you need to just because of that Dragonling. You're still going to be sitting pretty at 13 life. I don't think you're too worried about, you know, staying at that, especially since you're still out of the range of 3 decimates. Not that that's going to happen, you know, soon. It very well could come down next turn, but that feels bad, though. Having 2 Assessors now already hitting the board, that is about as good a luck as Fly could hope for to get back into this game.
And that is why the Thermo Beam from Lobster was necessary. Prevents an additional draw out of Fly. Keeps the board a little bit clear. And Thermo Beam can be difficult to find value in this matchup, just tempo-wise. Your opponent is going to go wide with these 5-attack units, especially with multiple Yetis on the top of his deck. So it can be very difficult to expend that much mana to kill 1 unit when you can just 4-mana stun something.
Well, this is kind of what you were talking about. I think it was last weekend we had this discussion about Assessor. It feels like people are actually playing around Assessor a little bit more. Like they're just more aware that Assessor's a card. So, okay, my opponent has 2 5-attack followers on board. I should probably get rid of one of them so that they don't get to draw multiple cards off the Assessor. And it looks like that did have a pretty big impact on why Freshlobster decided to go with that Thermo Beam. But for now, anyways, going to opt to play another Ezreal. We haven't seen any Calling Strikes come out yet, have we?
We just saw the one onto the Ezreal. I think that was the first one. Reckoning could still be really big for Fly.
And 2 more Calling Strikes. Like, I just feel like... Is Freshlobster forced into playing these Ezreals?
I mean, the Mystic Shot value that it creates is very, very good. And your opponent, outside of Calling Strike and Brittle Steel, really doesn't have a mana-efficient way to stop you from getting that off. And I think just as many free Mystic Shots as you can get feels really, really good. My concern is that this is Lobster's, second Ezreal. He doesn't have a Deny in hand. If we do see a kill spell onto this, then Lobster's only got 1 Ezreal left in the deck, has to find that alongside a Karma to actually pick up the win.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Is he thinking to himself with what he's drawn so far, how this game has transpired thus far? All right, do I have to play these Ezreals and just play to that 3rd Ezreal? Like, do I not have a choice? Do I need to fight for this board? I need to get as many Mystic Shots as possible because of how much pressure my opponent's putting on? And it does seem like that's what he is thinking. Looks like he is going to finally remove this Assessor, too, with this fleeting Mystic Shot, which, yeah, I mean, I got to say, what is this, the 3rd fleeting Mystic Shot he's gotten so far?
That sounds about right.
It feels good. As an Ezreal player, to actually get the level 1 Ezreal effect off, I feel like it's probably the lesser used level 1 effect in the entire game, just because nobody wants to play it.
It's because it's such a valuable card, and that's kind of why I want Ezreal to move away from the win condition and just move into sort of this value elusive. Mm-hmm. But that's just me. I'm not like, that's not a hill I'm gonna die on. But the Bjerg gotta fly. This is why Bjerg in this deck feels so weird, because you could have hit a Trifarian Glory Seeker, and that sucks. But you could have hit Captain Farron.
Yeah, Captain Farron, really good right now. If he's able to get into a Captain Farron, I think he just it just puts Freshlobster on a clock where he's just going to win the game. Or Fly, let me specify, Fly would win the game in that instance.
It looks like Ashe was what was picked up by that Bjerg, and Lobster doesn't have an immediate kill available onto that Thermo Beam. The only damage-based removal in his hand is 1 mana shy of being able to kill that. We'll be able to stun it, we'll be able to return it to the hand, but there's nothing to stop it from getting that immediate value when Fly goes for an open attack here.
And, okay, gonna Thermo Beam the Ashe.
I would assume this is going to level the Ezreal if that is the case.
Yeah.
Or perhaps we're just... Because if we were just going for the Dragonling, I think we'd fire off the Shroom.
So what does putting this at 1 do? I mean, he is playing... Alright, he is actually playing 3 Static Shock, which he has yet to draw a single one of. So he might just be playing to his outs at this point. Like, okay, I'm pretty likely to draw a Static Shock at some point. But going into Or go ahead.
I think it's more so that, like, you don't want to kill the Avarice and Sentry. You do level the Ezreal. You have 7 spells in hand. You only need 8 spells to kill your opponent. You are putting 20 Shrooms in their deck. Lobster can just, like, double Concussive Palm this turn, throw away his entire board blocking, throw all the Shrooms out next turn, and probably just win the game when Fly draws for the turn.
Yeah, and this Ashe, I don't think is going to level this turn unless, okay, now this Ashe is probably going to level this turn.
Yep, that's going to be a leveled Ashe.
And that's going to be a Mucho Grande attack from this Ashe board right now. So this is definitely going to force both Concussive Palms out. But I think this is not going to be enough here on the side of Fly because...
Like 9 damage.
Yeah, well, not only that, I mean, Freshlobster, so he's going to get these 2 Concussive Palms off. He's outside of being able to remove Ezreal right now, Fly is. These 2 Concussive Palms are going to go ahead and do 4 damage, put Fly at 9. He's got 8 damage in hand. I'm pretty sure Freshlobster steals the deal on the next turn.
Should be the case.
And I think...
Should be.
Yeah, he needs to... Let's see, if he blocks the Ashe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, he'd go down to 4. And there's nothing you have to play around at that point. You know, you have the ability to play at least 1 spell on your, priority to start your turn, and then you just have those 4 burst spells.
I feel like Lobster's thinking a little bit too hard about this one. I'm worried that he's not going to get his actions off before he ropes out. That is something that we see. I don't think Lobster necessarily do a lot, but we have seen players straight up lose the game to that rope out.
Well,
especially if you're trying to rearrange the spells at the last second.
I do, yeah. Oh god, that talk about a feels bad man moment. It's not fun, but I do like this. I said originally the 2 stuns, but his board being at 5 units would actually lose one of those 3/2 units. Not that it would matter, I think, too much here, but is going to go ahead and go down to 4. And I think this is where we just see the Machine Gun Ezreal go off here, see all these burst speed spells resolve, and end up being game for Freshlobster.
Yep.
Oh, and Rummage. Okay, Jesus.
So there is potential for lethal or a denial of the lethal on the side of Fly. Lobster does have to play one fast spell. If you can kill the Ezreal in response to that, then you can prevent the 2 damage that comes out of it. But you are going to be left with 20 shrooms in deck.
Yeah, and then there's a pretty good shot that you will draw. I mean, honestly, 2. He might very well draw 2. Only really needs to draw 1 if he can get 6 spells off right now. And if this Ezreal connects, yeah, that's probably definitely game if this Ezreal.
Yeah,
connects.
Fly has to Culling Strike the Ezreal attack. Lobster gets to Concussive Bomb in response, and Fly would have to have the 3rd Culling Strike available to actually prevent that damage and stay in this game. That's too tall an order, I think. I don't think he's going to be able to get that one done, and Lobster should be able to pick this one up.
Okay. Wow. I am actually surprised to see the Culling Strike because I feel like... Did that come from the right or the left?
It would have to have come from the left, right?
Yeah, I feel like that would have came out so much longer ago, but... Alright. Alright, so is he just gonna... Ooh, do you do that? You just go for it here? I guess so, right? Because your opponent's just gonna open attack. Oh. Wow.
Yep, finds it.
Wow. That is... Yep, that's a thing. That's just straight up lethal, right? Yep. And even the shrooms, too, I mean, would probably give an extra... 2 damage probably to start his opponent's turn next turn.
Yeah. And even going to force him to draw with the Everos and Sentry to increase the chances of those shrooms coming out. But the Ezreal is just going to be able to finish that one off. No shroom actually drawn from Fly.
Figures. You know, why do I feel like that always I'm like, yeah, it's a really high chance he'll draw like 3 shrooms. Up 0. All right, well, never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I mean, even if Ezreal died there, he died next turn to the Mystic Shot.
So Freshlobster going to go up 1-0 there on Fly, giving himself a chance to make top cut here as he is 6-2. Pretty good shot that the winner of this game will 100% make top cut. The loser, very much a question mark. We don't know if the loser will in fact make top cut here.
I mean, just win, and then you don't have to worry about it, right?
I mean, yeah, that's usually how it works. That's the best possible outcome, right? So...
Nobody banned Frostbite mid range?
Wow, yeah, so we're just going to get...
So it was the Deep that was banned.
All right, looks like I'm wearing my hat for next time we get back to... Hold on, let me get this hat ready over here. All right, looks like we're entering the top cut, wearing the mid-right Frostbite... Mid-range Frostbite hat. Which is just a weird unicorn hat.
If you want to know the difference between these 2 decks, it is the only difference is Lobster runs 1 Elixir of Iron instead of a 3rd Babbling Beard.
That's the absolutely only difference?
That's the only difference.
Wow. Wow, I'm sort of surprised to see... Man, my Elixir of Iron argument is really just going down the drain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not working out for me right now. I still love that card.
Meanwhile, Ravenous Flaw.
Hey!
I'm in money,
all right, we get it, all right?
I bet on the winning board.
I don't know. It's surprising to me to see such little value on that card. I still think it's an outstanding card. Although we have a lot of cool Freljord buff cards coming out in this next set.
Yeah.
So that'll be really cool to see that 2-cost burst. What is it? Plus 2 health, -2 attack.
-2 attack. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So we'll see how Freshlobster opts to start this off here with either the Sentry or the Omen Hawk. You gotta go with the Sentry. Why the Sentry over the Omen Hawk here? I feel like that's really just like how you want to play this game, like decision. Like, do you want to go aggressive? Are you playing to a certain strategy? What strategy do we think Freshlobster's playing to by playing this Sentry as opposed to the Omen Hawk first? Or does it not matter? Is you just saving more spell mana? Is that just the easy explanation?
I think it has to be the spell mana. There's not a whole lot of reason. I mean, I guess you just want the more proactive attacker if your opponent plays nothing, or something that matches the board a little bit better. I mean, I don't think it matters too much. Like this could be a 4/4 Beard. That'd be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. It's not all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, maybe we're just thinking a little bit too much about that one. Really micro decision. I mean, does get rewarded buffing the Ash first. That's definitely one of the better units to buff, especially getting it down so early here with also having 3 mana. And gonna be tough for Fly to really decide when to remove this. Ooh, this could be a Culling Strike, though, pretty early on here. That would feel really bad. Oh.
I mean, this is about as good of a Culling Strike target as you get in a matchup like this. Ash and Sejuani, really those high priority targets.
Just disgusting there. Like, that combo, man. One of the reasons to be in Noxus Freljord is literally just that combo. Ice Veil into Culling Strike, and oh my god. The 5 mana Vengeance coming down here. Such a good combo. Probably one of the best in the game.
I thought you were gonna go somewhere else with that, but yeah. I mean, it's hard to argue, right?
Yeah.
Especially because the Ice Veil Archer isn't a -1. It's like the one frostbite effect in the game that you do stay advantage neutral on because it does represent a minion, and a pretty good one at that, like a 2-mana 3/1. Absolutely phenomenal for trading. We've seen that come out against Callistas so often, stomp out that fearsome 3 health unit that we see so many of. Ice Veil Archer, chef's kiss. Mwah.
Now, are we gonna go so far as to say that Ice Veil and Culling Strike is the best, like multiple region combo in the game?
No.
No.
Dreadway Ledros.
Oh, come on. I mean, all right, the best realistic combo in the game.
Karma Ezreal.
Okay, good point. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, all right, never mind. I take it all back.
Even just Karma Rummage.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Rummage is. I don't know why I always assume Rummage is Ionia. I don't know why. Draw. PNZ is the draw region. We'll see what Freshlobster. Wow, having 8 mana here to fly is pretty wide board. Gonna opt to play the second Ash.
I mean, like, could have gone for the Bjerg, but I don't think he really. I don't know, because sure you take the Heartguard hit, but I would think that I want my Bjerg to be what's blocking some of these 3 health units. It looks like he is just going to be willing to commit the Brittle Steels. You do have to use them, and I like using them pretty proactively in a matchup like this because the Ash level does get so much agency, and Lobster can actually clear out all of Fly's board other than that copy of Avarician Heartguard. We'll get the Ash pretty close to her level up and could just see a big attack turn out of him. I think we're going to fire off both Brittle Steels.
Yeah, I agree. If he does only do 1 Brittle Steel, though, I don't mind that because if
1 Brittle's fine.
Yeah, this whole turn, the way that he set it up with this Ash, I really like because what this does is he sets himself up to play 1 Brittle Steel. Then he has 3 spell mana left over going into turn 6. Turn 6 means he'll have 6 mana to play Trifarian Glory Seeker plus Assessor going into a 2. Is that Assessor's not buffed up, is it?
I don't think so.
So it's still gonna be at least 2 draws though, which I think is absolutely just great for him right now.
I think you might go double Glory Seeker though. Maybe you don't attack with both of them, but I don't think they're necessarily going to. I like. There's nothing that Fly can do to kill those this turn, right? And then you can open with the Assessor next turn.
Oh man, are we playing the greed game? Are we playing the greed game here? Are we really gonna do this?
I don't think it's greedy. I think it's just like correct.
Didn't we label the 3 as greedy?
Okay, yeah, but like in the Frostbite mid-range mirror, throw all my numbers out the window because there's nothing in Fly's deck that kills these Glory Seekers or threatens them. You just don't attack with the one that you're not challenging this Heartguard.
Yeah, no, actually, you're 100% right. There is actually nothing that can kill it. So I guess it's like, do you value? I think actually you're right. I think you're right. I think I would go with both Trifarian Glory Seekers. You also have the Fury of the North that you could play. All right, gotta play mana efficient. I don't mind this either. You know.
Yeah, Bjerg is great because it lets you still play the Glory Seeker Assessor next turn, or open yourself up to a defensive Sejuani that we do see off the Bjerg. Fly gonna respond with a Bjerg in kind, and now things are a little bit more awkward for Lobster. Now that my opponent has gotten down this 3 health unit that can, sort of challenge out my Ash, but we do still have that second Brittle Steel available.
Yeah, and that is one of the ways you can get rid of those Glory Seekers. It's not necessarily the proactive way to get rid of it, but it does do it, on the defense when something like this happens. I'm going to get some pretty high use out of this Ash Freeze here. Going to also bait out something like the Brittle Steel first onto this Glory Seeker. So if Fly's able to read this, it does have a Brittle Steel. After this Brittle Steel potentially comes out on the Bjerg to save the Ash. That would be pretty big on the side of Fly. And it looks like he is considering something like that, pulling back the Bjerg.
You have to know that Lobster has another Brittle Steel, right? There's no way that Lobster goes for this Ash attack without having that.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to always assume that here, I think, in this situation. And then even Brittle stealing the Ash back, I don't think really does anything for you inside of Fly.
Saving a Bjerg is whatever. Yeah. I think I would rather Brittle Steel the Trifarian Glory Seeker, if anything. But, I mean, this is one of those things where, like, it feels really bad. You know your opponent has Brittle Steel, but you still have to make them use it. Otherwise, it's there for the rest of the game. There are cards that you can just play around for the entire game and never give your opponent an opportunity to play them. Something that comes to mind is if you're very certain that your opponent has Calling Strike and you have a Swain in hand, you can wait until you level your Swain to play it. But in a situation like this, like, you're never going to find a spot in the game where that Brittle Steel isn't getting some kind of value.
And I think Freshlobster has put himself in an absolutely beautiful spot. I think that being able to throw this Glory Seeker down, you're going to be able to easily get another assessor, or sorry, his first assessor, I think, of the game off for drawing 3 here. And we'll still have access to, if something weird happens with this attack on Fly's next turn when this passes back over, he still has access to, for now anyways, this Flash Freeze as well as the Fury of the North.
I think I like the defensive Sejuani a little bit more. There's no reason that you can't develop that last Glory Seeker into the Assessor next turn, get 4 draws off. And I don't really want to develop a non-blocker pre-combat. I think the Sejuani makes a lot more sense. You still have the Flash Freeze available, so your opponent can't even kill this with the Fury of the North if they do go for an attack and you go for a block. I think this is probably the safest 4-draw Assessor setup I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, especially going into this mirror match, right? I mean, like you said, there's no real way to deal with it. I feel like, are you that guy that's like, all right, we could draw 2 assess, we could draw off 2 with the Assessor next turn, and then you get to that point and you're like, we could draw 3, and then you get to that point, you're like, you know what? We could probably go with 4, and that's going to be fine.
If it's a matchup like this, then yes, because I would have, like, if you're like, oh no, you need to get the draw immediately, I will sit you down, look you in the eye, and tell me tell me exactly what combination of cards Fly can play to stop me from getting a 4-draw Assessor.
Well,
and you will scramble to come up with an answer. I will slap your face together with 2 pieces of bread and tell you you're an idiot sandwich.
And well, actually, so what that Sejuani does too on the defense, it actually does so much here. You know, that's why we saw the sad poor emo on the side of Fly, preventing the 3-draw Assessor from Fly for that turn, still having to go for the 2-draw, and then setting himself up, like you mentioned, for the 4-draw Assessor and Fresh Lobster. The return Assessor going to be so huge here for Fresh Lobster coming out.
And I think Lobster is contemplating, is there some weird thing that I have to do to stop my opponent from getting a 3-draw Assessor?
I mean, you have a Flash Freeze to... Well, no, it doesn't matter. I always... You know, do you think that effects like Assessor should go on the stack?
No.
No?
It'd be so wild if you could respond to me drawing cards.
I guess that inherently seems a little bit bad, but not necessarily just that. Like something like Ravenous Butcher. Like that, you know, like that effect of killing a unit, something like that going on the stack. I feel like sometimes it's a little awkward that it's not on the stack.
I mean, in Yu-Gi-Oh, sacrificing things doesn't go on the go on the chase either.
Summon. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, I like the consistency that Legends of Runeterra has put across the board. Stat-changing effects never use the stack. Drawing cards never uses the stack, except like Level Twisted Fate blue card goes on the stack.
Well, yeah, and that's a very very fringe use for that too, though. So
yeah, which is weird though, because like if I open my turn with a warning shot, you actually get priority after the fact because my blue card then goes off.
Yeah,
it does make it a little bit awkward, but I like the consistency of like keeping us in line with, you know, all of these stat changing effects are the same, all the draw effects are the same, none of them use the stack. I think Lobster, you might as well go for the Assessor here.
Yeah, so Fly kind of doing something similar to Fresh Lobster, as Fresh Lobster did last turn with freezing, frostbiting something to kind of prevent that extra draw off the Assessor. Still going to get a much better Assessor off, though, than Fly got, drawing 3 here. Going to basically put them even as far as advantage is concerned. And this is usually, you know, if both players play pretty well in the mirror match here, this is usually the point that we get to, right? Like, both, we see the Lux emo. Both players just get to, like, pretty decent-sized hands. Their boards are pretty stacked with 5 attack units. Unfortunately, though, going to get this. This might be Fury of the North here, and yep, this is going to be a pretty good Fury of the North. Unfortunately, no Brittle Steel left, though, which kind of feels bad. But now, okay, actually, yeah, no, so nothing can block this Ash now being at 7 health, so still pretty safe to go ahead and attack with this Ash. Oh, wow. That feels... Wow, okay, that sucks. Just had it flash frozen again, too. So, nope, Jesus. You will not get that Ash. You will not keep that Ash. Yeah, that feels really, really bad. And now, too, what that does is it turns off both Glory Seekers to really go in for any incredible value like they want. Still going to get to trade them off pretty well, which obviously you kind of have to do because they can't block, so...
That's why I like going for the Assessor, even though the Ash was flash frozen. You don't want to wait until next turn, because I think that this is the turn where you do have to offer up the trades on your Glory Seekers.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you don't want to be staring down. Basically, you have 3 blockers, your opponent has 5 attackers. That is not a fun turn, especially when your opponent could have Frostbite and then just trades down your entire board and leaves you with stuff that can't block. So I do like this outside of, on the side of Fresh Lobster.
Fly, though, still has the advantage in terms of assessors because his deck was Hearthguarded and he's got this 5/3 Ice Veil Archer, is still going to be left with 2 5-attack units. Could get a 3-draw assessor off to match the one that Lobster had. And it looks weird because it feels like Lobster put so much setup into getting that 4-draw assessor and then didn't quite get as much value as he wanted. But he does still have an extremely strong hand here. Has 2 Culling Strikes, has the Flash Freeze alongside it, and we could even see Captain Pharaon coming down next turn.
I mean, yeah, with actually speaking of that, though, I mean, I feel like the person who gets the Avarosian Hearthguards down first is generally going to be advantaged in this matchup. And right here, as you can see on the side of Fly, you know, he did get the Hearthguard off. That's why he's in the position he's in. But I think Freshlobster is playing beautifully around a lot of what Fly has put on the board so far, preventing the previous assessor from getting a lot of value, and also setting up without a Hearthguard, still being able to set up a pretty big draw turn himself. Ooh. This could be a pretty big assessor on the side of Fly.
Like, I think Lobster is contemplating the ramifications of a Flash Freeze Calling Strike here, but decides, you know, if you want to draw cards, it doesn't really matter if you can't develop them all this turn. As long as you take a decent amount of damage on the following turn from the overwhelm between my Farron and my Sejuani, I will win the game with this Decimates.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, Captain Farron just puts Fly in a clock. You're going to have 12 damage, and then some of this overwhelm is going to get through unless there is additional freeze on the side of Fly. So, yeah, I got to agree if he does opt to go for the Captain Farron play. Does put him outside of being able to use anything else that's in his hand, as he'll only have 2 mana left. And it won't be enough to play the Avarosian, since one of it will be spell mana. So we'll see if the Captain Farron does come down after whatever Fly does here. Or Fly passes, which I don't think happens here ever.
This is like a slightly risky pass on the side of Lobster, and Fly does sniff it out, says, you've got something big that you want to play, and I'm not going to let you do it. But, I mean, it does mean that Fly doesn't get any attacks off for the turn. I think what Lobster wanted to happen is even if Fly went for the attacks there, you at least get this 5 health unit off the board of Fly. You're willing to trade your Sejuani for that if it means that your Captain Pharaon gets to throw out more damage.
Yeah, and Captain Farron now looking to have a pretty big turn. Although, I don't know if I... Alright, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I love this play, because you've got to figure at this point, Fly has to have a Harsh Winds in hand. I mean, we haven't seen... Did we see one come out, actually? I don't think so.
No, that was last game. I think we tried to go for the lethal with the Harsh Winds Ash. I mean, I don't think I actually care about Harsh Winds in a situation like this. You push a little bit of damage onto my Farron, but as long as I don't block with it, I do still get to push more damage onto you next turn.
Yeah, well, I mean, only attacking with the Farron also plays around the Harsh Winds, so this is pretty good. Is going to put 5 damage onto the Farron, but does, you know, removes a 5-cost unit, puts your opponent at 14. You have 12 in hand. Seems good. Seems decent. We'll see if Fly can return the Farron on the following turn and have this be kind of like a Farron face-off here.
How much do you care about hanging on to this 3 spell mana?
Going into next turn, let's see, you have a Culling Strike, a Flash Freeze. Ooh, I'm going to go with you care about it, because you might need to play the Ice Veil, both Culling Strikes, and the Flash Freeze. Actually, you can't play both Culling Strikes unless your opponent plays something that can actually be Culling Striked right now.
Yeah, so what I like about this, and I've talked about this a lot in Indoor Spiders, we could use these Decimates to level Sejuani.
Oh, that 10-headed play, Boulevard. That's the real win condition here, which she's at 3, I want to say...
2 or 3. I want to say it's 2.
Why are you gonna be so negative?
Just because Fly, I mean, Fly only took 3. Fly was at 17 before this Farron hit, and it seems a lot more likely that the 3 was dealt in 1 turn. I think it was a Bjerg hit.
Yeah, like really early in the game. I think so.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd have, like, for 3 damage, it'd have to be like an Omen Hawk and a Sentry hit.
Well, we'll see here in a second if we have a return Farron. That's, I think, what Fly needs here to kind of keep up with... Okay, that works too. That's not bad. You will be able to get rid of this Farron so it doesn't do nearly as much overwhelm damage next turn. But does suck up one of these attacks here.
I'm curious. Do you Flash Freeze to protect the Farron, or do you kind of accept that he is in Brittle Steel range and is past his prime?
I think because he's in Brittle Steel range, you don't bother saving him. Whereas the Sejuani is outside of Brittle Steel range. I mean, there's still Harsh Winds, again, that are available as, at this point, 3 of. I don't think you need to save the Farron. I think you have the Sejuani. You can worry about doing the overwhelm with Sejuani. Although, I was going to say it gives you 2 shots to do overwhelm damage, but if there is a Harsh Winds chilling... If there is a Harsh Winds chilling, there's...
Oh, Boulevard, how many slippery wave rider ones are you going to try to get in the cast?
Well, It won't matter because like saving 2 overwhelm units, they're just both gonna get harsh winds. Harsh. What's the plural of that? Harsh winds.
I'm gonna let you struggle.
That's hard. Is it like super easy? And my English is failing me again.
Well, wind isn't a verb, so
Harsh
there is no
winds.
past tense of wind.
Harsh winds. Oh, good point. Well, all right. Well, whatever. we're gonna make up our own word. Harsh windsid, and so it's not gonna matter saving both units. It's basically what I'm getting at.
And Lobster does fire off the Calling Strike to kill that Sejuani, and it looks like now he's considering the Decimate. Yeah, tick me towards that Sejuani level up, baby. Lobster, throw it down. I also noticed that there is one more difference in these lists that we didn't highlight earlier because you mentioned there are 3 Harsh Winds on the side of Fly. Lobster, not running 3 Harsh Winds, is running 2, and then runs that main deck copy of Fury of the North that Fly has elected not to play any copies of.
And I believe that Fury, if I remember correctly, was played on the Ash earlier, which actually came...
Yeah.
So that actually was a huge swing that turn because he traded Ash and Fury for like 3 or 4 cards on the side of Fly because Fly had to Frostbite the Ash twice.
And now we've got a big attack turn out of Lobster.
This is gonna be game.
Only has to push through 2 damage, but, I mean, Fly can line up 2 blocks and throw out a Harsh Winds. He would need more than that. He would need a Harsh Winds and another freeze effect.
Yep.
Otherwise, this Avaros and Sentry will deal 2 and put him in lethal range of these Decimates. And even if Fly does throw out the Harsh Winds and another Frostbite effect, your opponent is then so low on cards that it feels like they lose anyway.
I got to agree there. And now Fresh Lobster finally finding things like the Avarosian Hearthguard is just going to be another like 5-drop that he's able to put down on the board just to pressure his opponent a little bit more. So we'll see where these blocks go. We'll see Brittle Steel. Does he have the Harsh Winds? Yup. Oh, wait. There's another Brittle Steel. Does he have... He's only playing 2 Brittle Steel, right? Oh. Didn't have the Harsh Winds. All game, not drawing a single Harsh Winds there. Playing 3. So, Fresh Lobster going to take game 2. The mirror match there. Oh, God. Hold on. Before I get back on camera. I got to... Because we had the mirror match game. Putting the hat on for a little bit here. Going to chill with the hat. Get this rocking and rolling. Hope I can hear you through this. I think I can hear you. Don't mess with me, Boulevard. Don't move your mouth. You know, God, especially if I'm having audio problem, you know how much that messes with me? Not fun, man. Not fun. All right. We here. We back. We better than ever. Got the hat on. Let's go.
Stop saying better than ever. I told you. I peaked in 2016.
Was that your senior year in high school?
That was the year I won a world championship.
Oh, Force of Will.
Yeah.
All right, so Fresh Lobster taking it away there. Going to make it to the top cut. We'll see how far he can go in this Duels of Runeterra. But as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.